Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly sports history for October 30th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast, and we have some breaking Eagles news. Yesterday, Howie added to the cornerback room, traded John Mechie and a 6th-round pick to the Jets for Michael Carter II and a 7th-round pick. Dude's pretty good. Kind of an off season this year after signing the contract, fell out of favor in New York, but right away upgrades the cornerback room. Still remains to be seen how they're going to work it out because he mostly is a slot, so they're either going to have to move him outside and keep Coop where he is, or move Coop inside and keep Michael Carter on the slot. And it'd be interesting to see because Coop has turned into one of the better slot corners, where Michael Carter is one of the better slot corners as well. So I don't think you're going to get a definitive answer whenever they announce this with Nick and Howie and even Vic. I feel it's probably going to end up being a matchup-based thing. Probably should be a matchup-based thing, depending on where you're going to go. You have Green Bay, you have Detroit, and you have Dallas right out of the bye. So likely all three of the guys are going to be out there playing anyway. So good move. I like this. It's another low-risk, high-reward move for Howie. I think he's not done yet. I saw some Jets fans kind of saying, well, we outsmarted Howie Roseman, made him take a guy that he didn't really want to get rid of a guy we didn't want anymore. And I don't think it's that at all. I think the corner market isn't necessarily super strong. The draft next year is going to be a good draft. So I think Howie was smart with his draft picks. I also think he has the capital now to also make a move for an edge rusher as well. So I don't think Howie's done yet. So stay tuned, but the first domino has dropped. Michael Carter coming from the Jets. Joe Douglas, who's now working in the front office again with Howie, was the guy that drafted this dude, so he really likes him. So I'm fine with it, and I like the fact that it comes during the bye week, so it gets time to sort of bridge the gap and allow him to learn the offense and everything. I would suggest too reading the A.J. Brown article in The Athletic. It really was eye-opening. I mean, you're not going to get any new information out of it, but just seeing some things from his perspective. And truthfully, what he wants to really do is help the team. He needs that affirmation, and I think that could be the missing piece right now, and where things are coming from is he doesn't feel that he's helping the team. He's not getting that affirmation. So we'll see what happens. But after reading that article, I think it's even less likely that the Eagles trade him, because I feel as though he needs us just as much as we need him. And they just need to make it work. Like, AJ needs to work it out, continue his therapy and self-improvement and everything like that. But we'll talk more about that on the Brotherly Birds breakdown tonight. That will happen usually around halftime of the Thursday night football game. So stay tuned for that wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. But it's a bye week, but we're still going to talk, kind of give the state of the team after roughly the halfway point. Certainly going to be talking about Michael Carter and the A.J. Brown situation as well. But that is available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. All right, I do have some Sixers. Going to the Sixers, there's a lot of talk yesterday I heard on the radio, as well as saw on Twitter, about when Joe and Paul George are fully back and how it's going to change the way the game is playing. And obviously, the team's going to look different. The team is going to play different with these two guys back. But I think in the big picture, they're going to see that they don't need to be the guys. The pressure is not going to be on them. And I think it's going to open up their game. And there's no way when Paul George is fully healthy and Joe is fully healthy, after seeing how the way this team is able to run up and down the court, there's no way they're going to get away from that. Will there be more half court sets? Probably. You got to rest the young guys too and not wear them out. It's only been 4 games. But I think it's a good problem to have. I think everybody is just looking for a reason to not be on board with this team, looking for a reason to rip Joe. And I'm telling you, just relax. Go into this with no expectations and just have fun. It's one of those things. Like, we'll figure out what the identity of this team is as the season progresses. But enjoy it. We have fun basketball to watch. And that means also fun when Joe and Paul George come back. So are there going to be some clunkers in there every now and then? It's a long season. Yes. It's a different NBA than when I was a kid, where every night was must watch and guys went all out every night. But this is a fun team to watch. So just go with it. It's 4 games in, people. Relax. All right, to the ice. And the Flyers are back in action tonight at Xfinity Mobile Arena. They take on the Nashville Predators. They're looking to win their 5th out of their last 6 and stay red hot. And you want to talk about fun. Pirates. That Penguins game the other night was a lot of fun. Team's a little chippy. They got a little chip on their shoulder. They know that they have the potential to be pretty good. They're sneaking and hovering around that playoff line. Watch some Flyers tonight. Yeah. Or what are you going to watch? The Ravens and Dolphins? No. Watch the Flyers. All right. I did get some feedback yesterday too, and people asking about how I spent the day after the Phillies won the World Series. I made it into work that day. It was a movie day. We watched highlights on ESPN all day, but I did make it into work that day, gearing up for the parade that would have happened tomorrow. But still, 17 years ago. Hard to believe it was 17 years ago. I made my kids watch the 9th inning last night, and they were just like, wait, is this live? I'm like, no, this happened 17 years ago. But still, one of my most favorite nights as a Philly fan was when the Phillies won the World Series. Again, it just was, I can't believe it's been 17 years. But if you are enjoying this podcast, be sure to follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo. All of them, Philly Jimbo. That's me. I was able to get it all. Go to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont, and subscribe. That way you can be in the loop, turn on your notifications, and as soon as that video uploads tonight, you'll be able to watch the Brotherly Birds breakdown. Back to the Future voice and text line, 267-495-8531. Get anything Philly sports related off your chest. Vent about anything you want. You want to talk about the Michael Carter trade. You want to talk about Joe and Paul George and the Sixers. You want to talk Flyers. All of it is fair game. And then, of course, come over to the Discord channel. First link in the description. Have some good Philly sports talk there as well. All right, yesterday's trivia question. We spotlighted Mike Rozier as the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductee spotlight. He won the Heisman in 1983. Nobody got this one. Lots of good guesses. But I said, who finished second behind Mike Rozier in 1983 for the Heisman? Lots of great quarterbacks in that class. Lots of people guessing the quarterbacks. Nobody got this one. Steve Young out of BYU was second in the 1983 Heisman Trophy voting. Thank you to everybody who guessed. We had some good discussions in the Discord channel about this. This Day in Philly Sports History is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, where passionate fans make powerful content. Check out theclashingconferences.com and join the squad today. One. All right. And of course, we here at This Day in Philly Sports History are proud members of the Clash and Conferences Sports Fan Network. Great group of guys and girls. Lots of fun hanging out in their chat and just getting the perspectives from people from across the country. All right, October 30th. First, we're going to go back to 1969. And on this day in 1969, the Flyers and Rangers skated to a 3-3 tie. It was the fourth straight home game that the Flyers had that ended in a tie. Scoring the tying goal that night, though, for the Flyers was a rookie and future Stanley Cup champion and Hall of Famer by the name of Bobby Clarke, and it was his first NHL goal. So on this day in 1969, Bobby Clarke scores his first NHL goal in a 3-3 tie with the Rangers. It was the fourth straight home game that season that the Flyers had ended in a tie. Fast forward to 1980, and the NBA named its 35th All-Anniversary team. Sixers were well represented on there. Dr. J and Wilt Chamberlain both making the team. And then the 1966-67 Sixers were named at the time in 1980 the best team in NBA history. Still by many experts considered one of the top 5, top 10 teams, depending on who you talk to of all time. But Dr. J and Wilt making the All-NBA 35th anniversary team on this day in 1980. And then 3 years later, in 1983, the Eagles lose to the Baltimore Colts 22-21 at the Vet. Harold Carmichael caught and threw a touchdown pass, but the Eagles turned the ball over 5 times and lose to the Colts at the Vet. It was the last time they'd play the Colts, as they were formerly named the Baltimore Colts. After the 83 offseason, they would move to Indianapolis. And if you keep score at home like I do, you're probably wondering this. This is the way my brain works. The Eagles were 4-5 all time against the Baltimore Colts. They're 6-5 now since they moved to Indianapolis. So they fared a little bit better, slightly better, once the Colts moved to Indianapolis. Always struggled against Peyton Manning, though. All right, then we go 11 years later to 1994. The Eagles score 17 points in the fourth quarter to beat Washington 31-29 down in D.C. Herschel Walker had a rushing and a receiving touchdown. The defense forced 3 turnovers, but it took an Eddie Murray field goal with 19 seconds left to get the Eagles the 31-29 win, moving them to 6-2. And we were all feeling good, but little did we know what was about to happen with that 1994 team. And then finally, we go 11 years from there. 2005, the Eagles fall behind the Broncos 28-0 out at Mile High. Managed to make a furious comeback, cut it to 28-21, and then the wheels fell off. They lost 49-21 to the Broncos out at Mile High. Donovan had 283 yards, 3 touchdowns, but 2 costly interceptions. But the defense could not stop Jake Plummer, who threw for 309 yards and 4 touchdowns. Tatum Bell ran for 107 yards and 2 touchdowns. Terrell Owens did have a 91-yard touchdown catch in what would become his final game as a member of the Eagles. After this game, this is when things started to get weird. So that week after the Denver game, you had the fight in the locker room with Hugh Douglas. You had T.O. making the comments on ESPN about the Eagles would be undefeated if they had Brett Favre as quarterback. Coming on the heels, I forget the timing of it now, but you throw in he wore a Michael Irvin jersey to a press conference. Things got weird, but on this day, it started the whole motion and the snowball rolling. Well, actually, really, it started in training camp, but things were looking weird in Philly. But the Eagles lose to the Broncos 49-21. Terrell Owens with a 91-yard touchdown catch from Donovan McNabb in his final game with the Eagles before being suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. All right, that does lead to today's trivia question. 3 quarterbacks in Eagles history have been sacked over 300 times. Who are they? Hit me up on the Discord channel or the Back to the Future voice and text line 267-495-8531. get that, anything else Philly sports related off your chest. Want to wax poetic on the Donovan T.O. situation? I'm all ears. I love talking about that because both of them are just handled it wrong and what could have been. All right, it is Thursday, though, and that means it's Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com, use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off your order. They got you covered for your Philly sports-based apparel. Lots of good Sixers stuff coming out. I talked about the VJ Max shirt the other night. They got the hoodies and shirts that say play the song. We'll be getting one of them very shortly. But just go to Philly Goat, scroll through their site, and get excited for the Sixers with their new Sixers gear. All right, for Throwback Thursday, we're going to go back to 1987 and talk about the 1987 Eagles. It was Buddy Ryan's second year as coach. It was the strike season where one game was canceled due to the players' strike, and then there were 3 games with replacement players. Some teams had their regular players come back and cross the picket line, but the replacement players really hurt the Eagles. They went 7-8 that year, but 3 of those losses came with the replacements, and a lot of that was due to Buddy Ryan, who was pro-union, but said he would support his players no matter what. But he told the player reps, I think it was Reggie, and I'm not sure who the other one was, but basically told them, listen, you need to stick together. It's all or none. And they all loved Buddy, and they stuck to it. They all stayed out, where you had the Cowboys, who had some players come back to get some work. You had other teams that were fielding. A lot of their players were playing. Not the Eagles. The Eagles had not one player that was on the regular roster cross over and be a replacement player. And they got their butts kicked. One of those games was when Tom Landry put Danny White and Tony Dorsett back into the game, essentially to run up the score on Buddy Ryan. And if you know anything about Buddy Ryan does not forget. His mind was like an elephant. So first game back after the strike, Randall was the quarterback. This was his first year as the full-time starter in Philly. He was solid, but Eagles had the game in hand, going for the kneel down to run out the clock. Randall fakes it, throws it deep, gets the pass interference. Eagles run it in to run up the score. Tom Landry was pissed off, ran off in his fedora. Good riddance. Hate Tom Landry. But that just goes to show the kind of guy Buddy was. It was sort of one of those things. His guys remained loyal to him. He remained loyal to them. And he was like, you know what? This guy tried to embarrass me, so I'm going to embarrass him back. Kids, probably not good by today's standards, but that's just the way things were back then. But the 87 Eagles, man, it really hurt them because they were 7-8. They had a solid season from Randall Cunningham in the 12 games he played. They had Reggie White, who had the most dominant defensive season ever, 21 sacks in those 12 games. They did miss the playoffs. Who knows? I mean, you figure 3 of those losses, the team was 7-8. The team was good. So without the replacement players, they were 7-5. You got to figure they win at least one of those games, and winning one of those games likely puts them in the playoffs. They win 2, they're challenging for the division. So the strike really hurt them. Buddy, though, hated the replacement players, and they were terrible. I remember this is kind of vaguely the first football season I remember watching and paying attention to and kind of knowing what was going on. And it was some bad football, man. Really, really bad. But the 87 season really cost the Eagles because of the strike. But they would bounce back in 1988 and win the division. But you want to talk about some brutal football, go back and watch and even read the articles and just listen to Buddy. Like, he despised it. He said, this isn't real football. But kudos to his guys for sticking together and not taking the chump way out the way the Cowboys did. And really, that fake kneel is what reignited and really fired up the current where we are with the Cowboys-Eagles rivalry. But the 87 Eagles are today's focus on Throwback Thursday. Learned a lot, too, as a young kid, just about unions and all of that other stuff. from my dad trying to explain to me why they would not cross the picket line and consequences. It was a good teachable moment, I guess, for my dad through that. But the 1987 Eagles, the strike season, the replacement players being so terrible cost the Eagles a shot at really making some noise and would have come into that 1988 season with maybe with a little bit of confidence. Who knows? Maybe they win a playoff game, and that whole narrative of the Buddy Ryan era completely changes. But Throwback Thursday brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. And then finally today, our Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame 2025 inductee spotlight is on Paul Holmgren of the Flyers. Played 9 years in Philly, was an all-star in 1981. 243 goals, 374 points for Paul. He is second all-time with the Flyers in penalty minutes. He's the first United States-born player to have a hat trick in a Stanley Cup game. Did that in 1980. His 374 points were third most for a right winger with the Flyers when he retired. After he retired, he would become head coach of the Flyers from 88 to 91. Took them to the conference final in his first season. Did become and started sort of that trend of the former Flyers getting into the front office, but he was the first former player to be head coach. From there, he was the scouting director, player personnel director, assistant GM, general manager, and president. Currently works with Comcast Spectacor. He is in the Flyers Hall of Fame. He is in the U.S. Hockey Hall of Fame. And November 6th, next week, he takes his place among the all-time greats in Philadelphia sports history when he is inducted into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame down in Live Casino. So Paul Holmgren, we shout you out today. Flyers legend, longtime Flyers player, executive, coach, kind of everybody talks about Bobby Clark being Mr. Flyer, but Paul Holmgren is pretty close to being right up there as having the Flyers. If you ever seen Bobby Clark has a Flyers symbol shaped pool in his backyard, or at least he did. But wouldn't be surprised if Paul Holmgren had the same thing. Now, I'll wait as all of you go to Google to search Bobby Clark's pool. Just kidding. All right, on this day in 2005, Terrell Owens played his last game with the Eagles, catching a 91-yard touchdown pass as the Eagles lose to the Broncos 49-21, and then things, like I said, got weird. In 1994, the Eagles scored 17 points in the fourth quarter and win it when Eddie Murray kicks a field goal with 19 seconds left down in Washington, 31-29. 1983, Eagles lose to the Baltimore Colts, turn the ball over 5 times. It was the last time they played them as the Baltimore version of the Colts. Dr. J and Wilt Chamberlain named to the NBA All-35th Anniversary Team on this day in 1980. The 66-67 champions were named the greatest team of all time back in 1980. And then in 1969, the aforementioned Bobby Clark scored his first NHL goal in a 3-3 tie with the Rangers. We will have more on those Fly guys tomorrow as they look to go 5 of their last 6 and stay hot down at. Got to come up with a good nickname for the Xfinity Mobile Arena. So there's today's question. What would be a good name for the Xfinity Mobile Arena? We love our nicknames of our stadiums down here. What would be a good nickname for Xfinity Mobile? I'll think about that as we go. But it's a rainy, dreary Thursday. Stay safe out there if you're driving. Tomorrow we'll have the updates on the Flyers. We'll have more on the Eagles and what Howie has up his sleeve. Of course, it's Fridays with AI, so stay tuned for that. But go have yourselves a Thursday. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 30th, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.